Right, so after the last set of clips, I went away and I just cracked on with some work. I found that was a whole lot easier than filming a bit, doing some construction, filming a bit, doing some construction. I also needed to go away and think of some problems, so I needed to experiment. So I didn't want to fill up my camera with too much needless footage, so I just cracked on with some work. So let's show you what I've done since the last set of clips. We'll open the box there. There's a lot to talk about there. That looks very different. We'll get onto that in a second. First of all, this kind of internal frame that we've put on this, these kind of bracing boards, I'm not quite sure what to call these. They're going to be back scenes eventually. And weirdly, there's going to be a front scene as well because this is a box. We're going to have scenes on all four corners of the box, which is rather unusual for a model railway layout, but because we're building in this into the box, we're going to view it from all four angles. So we do need to have a front scene or back scene at the front, if you will. So I've got those four panels in. At the moment, they are not glued in. As you can see, they can slightly move, and that's because I still want to do a little bit of work to them. At the moment, they're just spray painted white, and you might notice if you do get up close and inspect them that it's not a perfect finish. Obviously, if you're going to spray paint some furniture or something, you probably want to give it another second coat because you can see the sort of slight imperfections in the first coat of paint. I'm not too worried about that because what I'm going to do with the kind of white back scene, I'm going to use that as a kind of overcast cloud sky base, and then we're going to dab on greys and blues and things on top of that. So the fact that I can start to kind of see the primer coat in grey coming through in places is okay because we're going to add clouds anyway and stuff. So not too bothered, but I did want a kind of white canvas base to start with. This all is cheap MDF from furniture storage or furniture packaging, I should say. It can be slightly difficult to work with because it's sort of frays at the edges and it sort of starts to disintegrate, which you can sort of see in that hole there, which I'll talk about the hole and what it's there for in a minute. But the good thing about it is it's very lightweight and it does cut very easily. So it was quite easy to build this structure. We don't want to make this too heavy. That, and I had it lying around, I might as well use it. The internal frame here, these back panels, does mean we lose about 1 centimetre each side of internal storage. So we have lost a little bit of track plan baseboard space, but I've gone back to my track plans and my maps and things, and it doesn't look like it's going to make too much of a difference, which is good. Did want to put this in because it kind of gives a nicer finish than the foam back panels that we've kind of chewed away at, taking out those foam blocks. So it gives it a nicer finish and it gives the box a little bit more rigidity, and it also hides the bolts holding in the handle, which is good. Anyway, onto the baseboard, which I've got here. Again, panel of MDF, it's about 5mm thick, and then on the rear I have just braced it with some pine wood, and I do want to put another couple of struts in diagonally and across there just to give it some nice strength and rigidity, and this should hopefully fit nice and snug into the bottom of our box. So I'm going to lower it in, there it goes, and I had to spend quite a lot of time sanding this down because it was a very snug fit, and if I'm honest, I think it still needs a little bit more taken off that corner so that it really does drop in with ease. We don't want it to be constantly touching the back and front and side panels when we're taking the baseboard in and out. And if it's too tight, when we pull it up and down, it's going to bend and it's going to warp, and things that are going to sit on here are going to start to get unstuck. So we do need to make sure it fits snugly, but not too snugly that it's not impossible to move and get in and out so that we can work on it. These white lugs, by the way, I've put on so that we can take the baseboard in and out of the box with ease. They are designed to hold cabinets together when they're on the walls, kind of like IKEA cabinets. So I'm going to unscrew that and show you what they actually look like. They're just called connecting screws. You've got two white plastic lugs like that go either side, and then a bolt that goes through the middle, and then you just screw them on and it gives you something nice and sturdy to grip onto. These do protrude slightly longer than the pine wood frame. don't worry, that is by design. I'm going to put another 2 of these lugs either side, so there's some nice supports for this to sit on the foam liner of the box, and that also will raise the baseboard up a little bit more so that we can make sure we can fit all our wiring in underneath. That was by design. The reason I've gone for that width of pine wood is purely to keep weight down. I didn't want to have too heavy a box to cart around. So that is the baseboard, and we can lower that in, and it looks rather good. The good thing about having a removable baseboard is obviously we can go away and work on it elsewhere without having to disrupt the box, and it also does mean that potentially you could have modular layouts. You could put in this one, take it out, get rid of it, go build another one and insert that. If you were at an exhibition or you're a railway modeller who likes to go to and exhibit their layouts, you could put in another one the next time you do an exhibition, or you could chop and change the scale or the gauge. There's limitless possibilities. Don't worry, at the moment I'm only going to build one. So we'll put that back in there and we will move on to the lid. Now last clips in this video, you'll remember I was just painting the internal space white, and at some point I hinted that I wanted to use this for rolling stock storage. Well, if we fold these back, and these little just picture frame hooks that I've screwed in, and take this lid panel out, you'll see we have now got some rolling stock storage. This internal space is quite rough and ready at the moment. I haven't quite planned out how to use it properly, and I'm not all that happy with this kind of shelf thing. So there's some further things to think about in the lid, but that's basically the general gist, is that we want to be able to put these little N gauge locomotive and rolling stock boxes in there, tuck it away, and then we can have everything that we need for the layout in the lid. Hopefully, that's the plan. Maybe we can even put controller things in there as well. And then just to complete the look, I've drilled some circular holes with one of my favourite drill bits, which is kind of like a, well, I don't know what you call it. It's just a hole borer basically. And it just plugs a hole straight through that. And then I can easily lift this in and out with ease. Clip those back in, and when the lid closes, I don't know if you can see that, everything stays in place in the lid, which is excellent. The structure of all this, again, there's some MDF panels around the sides of the lids. There's some slightly thicker pine woods at the top and bottom there, just to give me something more substantial to drill these into. And then we've got another MDF panel there, and then there was some pine wood and MDF shelving panels under the lid, which I need to give a little bit more thought to. The problem with all of this internal lid usage is the box was not designed for this. Originally, you'll remember the box had a foam insert, which is a lot lighter than all this wood and rolling stock that we're going to put in there, and it's added quite a lot of weight to the lid, and you can sort of see it's kind of bending, and what I'm worried is it's going to add strain onto the hinges and strain onto the back of the box. So I'm not overloading it with rolling stock and other bits and pieces yet. What I want to do is come up with a solution to strengthen this hinge, or strengthen the act of having the box open. What I am thinking of doing is simply putting some rope in here or some fabric, just so that it doesn't sit at full open, if you like. It doesn't sit and sit on the hinges, so that it kind of uses the rope just to stabilize it, and then to have the strain on the side of the panel box there. To do that, I need to finish the rest of the box. So I kind of think that's where we're up to. The only other thing I'm going to do with the lid, I'm also probably going to paint this all white, and then we can also have a scene on there. I mean, N gauge is very small, so we're not going to have some massive painted Michelangelo scene there. It's probably just going to be white sky effect, maybe some trees at the bottom, depending on how high our scenery and how high our scene comes up on this back scenic board. So that's where we're up to. Things to crack on with. Obviously I need to put in those lugs, extra support and bracing in the bottom of the baseboard. I need to think a little bit more about the rolling stock solution. I need to think a little bit more about the bracing of the hinges so that we're not stressing that. I need to paint all the back scenes and the front scenes and the side scenes. That will be the next job. Rachel's hopefully going to help me with some of that and get it nice and artistic. And then beyond that, we can start thinking about track plans, I think, and that's the fun bit. So I think I'm going to leave it there for this video. I'm going to wrap things up and I will carry on beavering away with this box in the meantime, so do stay tuned for further updates. As always, thanks very much for watching and I will see you at the next stop.